All right, today we're diving into a project that asks a really strange but fascinating question about the future of your money. It's called Dadabank, and it's this wild mashup of subversive art and decentralized finance. I mean, seriously, what if your bank, instead of just obsessing over profits, decided to randomly throw money at absurd art projects? What if it wasn't owned by some giant corporation, but by you and everyone else who uses it? That's the crazy, brilliant idea we're unpacking today.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the big problem Dadabank is trying to solve. Then we'll look at the tech behind its answer, introduce the project itself, get into how it all works, and wrap up with the wonderfully weird Dada twist.
Okay, let's jump right into part one, the huge problem with banking as we know it. Yeah, it's convenient, but that convenience comes with a pretty big hidden cost.
Just think about it for a second. When was the last time you actually went into a bank branch? Everything, your balance, your history, all of it is digital now. And all that incredibly sensitive financial data, it's all just sitting on these massive, centralized servers run by a few tech giants. Think Amazon AWS or Microsoft Azure. So this really boils it down. The system we have now is centralized, which means it's pretty easy to spy on, and it creates this one massive target. If one of those server farms goes down, things could get really bad, really fast. The alternative flips that on its head. A system that's decentralized, that gives you real control, sovereignty over your own data, and is just way more resilient.
Which, of course, brings us to the solution. How in the world do you build a bank that doesn't depend on a couple of mega corporations? Well, the answer is you give the power back to the people.
And the key piece of tech that makes this possible is something called DPIN. It stands for Decentralized Physical Infrastructure. And honestly, it's a simple but super powerful idea. Instead of a big company owning all the computers, the network is powered by regular people, individuals, contributing their own hardware. It's already being used for all sorts of things, and now, banking.
And the best part? We're not talking about needing some monster computer in your basement. Nope, you can actually contribute to a network like this just by running a small, low-power server at home. It could be a tiny Raspberry Pi, that old laptop you have gathering dust, or even a network storage device. It's all about using everyday tech that's already out there.
So, we've got a problem, centralized banking, and we've got a potential solution, DPIN. And that is exactly where Dadabank comes into the picture. It takes this cutting-edge tech and smashes it together with a wonderfully rebellious old idea.
This quote right here gets to the absolute heart of it. The goal isn't just to build another technical alternative. It's to create something that's owned by its users, that's decentralized, and, get this, that's actually fun. It's a total rebellion against the boring, cold, corporate feel of all the finance we're used to.
And that name, Dada, is no accident. The whole project is inspired by a Dadaist art stunt from way back in 1919. We're going to get to the juicy details of that in a minute, but just know, this whole thing has its roots in artistic rebellion. Just, rebooted for the 21st century. Okay, so this all sounds pretty cool, but how does it actually work? Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the nuts and bolts of how Dadabank really functions. It's actually way more straightforward than you might think. Step 1, you set up a small home node. That's just your Raspberry Pi or old PC. Step 2, that little device contributes some of its resources to the network, like a bit of storage space or bandwidth. And step 3, for doing that, you earn rewards. Simple as that.
But here is where the real magic happens for you, the user. First, you get true data sovereignty. That means your financial data literally stays on your device, not some corporate server in another country. You can choose to share it, sure, but you can also revoke that access anytime. And it's all locked down with super advanced crypto like zero-knowledge proofs, which is just a fancy way of saying you can prove something, like having enough money for a purchase, without revealing any of the sensitive data itself.
Of course, for any of this to work long-term, it's got to be sustainable. So how does it pay the bills? Well, the system is designed as a perfect little loop. Node rewards give people a reason to join and make the network stronger. Tiny transaction fees help pay for operations. And staking yields reward the long-term believers who help secure the whole thing. It's a completely self-sustaining economy.
Okay, and that brings us to the final and maybe my favorite piece of the whole puzzle, the Dada and Dadabank. This is where the project stops being just a clever financial idea and becomes something else entirely. Remember those little transaction fees that keep the lights on? Well, not all of that money goes where you'd expect. A big chunk of it is set aside for something way more chaotic, way more fun.
So check this out. Most of the value, a combined 80%, goes right back to the people running nodes and staking, keeping the network healthy. But that last 20%, that gets funneled into something they call absurdist cultural grants.
And what on earth does that mean? It's exactly what it sounds like. It's an anti-materialist engine built right into the code of a bank. Money from the network is just randomly given away to fund weird art, cultural grants, community projects, you name it. It's a direct callback to that old Dadaist spirit of injecting a bit of absurdity and joy into systems that are normally so cold and rigid.
So there you have it, Dadabank. It's a user-owned financial network running on hardware in people's homes, with a chaotic, creative mission baked right into its DNA. It really leaves you with this one big question. Is this a real glimpse into the future of finance, one that's more sovereign and more human? Or is it just a beautiful, chaotic art project? You know, maybe the best answer is that it's a little bit of both.